Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hook Intentions. So yeah, today I wanted to do a special little video here, kind of giving my overall thoughts on the entire series now that Zenkaiger is done. I am aware, of course, of Zenkaiger versus Kiramager versus Senpaiger. That's not coming out yet. We've gotten little teases and glimpses, but it hasn't come out yet, so that might continue the story, so to speak. It at least looks like we're going to get a 7 Zenkaiger team roll call of sorts, so because they're all lined up there. But yeah, I thought since I just got done reviewing recently episode 49 when it was done, that I would kind of give my overall thoughts. So the show's great. End of video. Okay, bye. Anyway, I'm clearly gonna give more detail. Sorry, stupid joke. Anyway, so this is a really fun series. When I originally found out about the series starting and all of that, I wasn't sure just yet what to think of it. I was definitely interested in it, and I think I even had some of the stuff pre-ordered, whatever. But I wasn't 100% about what it was going to be like. And now that I've seen it, it was a roller coaster of a show. What I like is that a lot of people, when it came out this show was going to be a thing, were worried that it was just going to tap off of Zenkaiger, right? And it didn't really. Kinda in the way of the Zenkaiger sometimes making a story thing from certain seasons happening, whereas in Zenkaiger they would actually have a physical member of that cast there to play their part, And honestly, it's interesting because now we have Dawn Brothers where they're literally doing Avataro changes into certain, Sentai heroes. So kind of interesting. We're doing almost a 2-year anniversary. But anyway, so Zenkaiger is the best way I can describe it is it's the best fever dream you'll ever have watching Sentai. It's the most Sentai show that I've seen in a long time, and I've not been watching all the way through since its creation. Clearly, Sentai started before I was ever born. I've watched some of the older ones, and clearly, Zenkaiger through to now. But with such a long history, I was not worried, but very interested in how they were going to pull off a true anniversary season. And I think it was more of an anniversary season of Sentai plot lines and character arcs and tropes than it was about needing to pay homage to certain seasons and having these returning actors come back and all of that, because Zenkaiger already did that. It would be goofy if they did that again. Zenkaiger just clearly did that with their stuff. They don't need to keep doing it. Dawn Brothers doesn't seem like it's going to have anything past the Avataro changes, so I don't mind that. Not Dawn Brothers either. But from the very start, I was very interested, especially with Kaito being the leader and his Zenkaiser form. The suit is unlike anything we've seen. Very much so reminiscent of at least Aka Ranger's helmet, and color scheme maybe kind of reminds you little touches of Big One and stuff like that from Jaka, I think. Jaka? Pretty sure Jaka? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Yeah, so very different for a Sentai season, and that we have a majority of the team, other than Zox and technically Stacy, which we'll get to him in a minute, that are all robots. I was all for it. I was like, whatever. To me, it's not that I think Sentai could do no wrong, but to me, I like Sentai when it's at its weirdest. It's not always the best at that point. Sometimes it's really weird, and it's kind of not, kind of meh, kind of so-so, or kind of ends kind of weird. This was, I think, the strength of the show, is that they really, for one, I like that they didn't introduce everybody to start. I like that it was just Kaito and Jiran to focus on in the first episode, and that's it. But you get a glimpse of Majin, a glimpse of Rune, and I think a glimpse of Gawan, if I'm not mistaken, because of Kikaitopia and technically at the end Zenkaitopia becoming one world, kind of merging. So I like that. I think that was a nice way to do that. And then as the episodes went, we started getting introduced to a character-focused episode for each member, going forward to episode 5, to where we have everybody. Or episode 4, actually. Let's see. Go on. Yeah, episode 4, sorry. So I like that. I like that a lot, and it gives the series a lot of time to breathe with these characters, get these plot lines in here, and really do a lot with it. The Sentai Gears I really like as a collectible. I'm not one of the people that think they're boring. I think they're really cool. Sure, they don't have a mechanical gimmick to them, like, let's say, the Ryusols, but, in fact, I'm going to get my Geertlinger, actually, right over here. But the stuff in the show is just so cool. I love how it's designed. I love how this looks. Yes, it's goofy. It says Geertling around here like it's from the dollar store. But, I like that the symbol for the team is right there. It's prevalent. This is kind of designed to look like Seichan. I love the design of the gears is really cool. Juron's gear there. The Kikai, symbol on the back. I just really like the aesthetics of the show. And I think that they did a really good job to bring to life this world we had never seen before. I will say that the first episode, having it be this like epic thing where you're seeing all these Sentai teams get trapped in the Tojo gears, was cool, but I was a little let down. We didn't really do much with that. There were other worlds they went to, but we never see them go to a Sentai world to save it, or fight a monster based off a Sentai and saving that world from that. I don't know if Dom Brothers is trying to do anything with that, mainly because the Toji Tendo are done, so I would assume Stacy would have just released all the Sentai worlds. But it was kind of confusing because, as we know from the show, it really isn't about them meeting these past teams and, we're going to work with this certain person and all about, like, we get glimpses of that in, like, the 100 Red Ranger battle, little special thing, and also kind of in the, what's it called? The one with Superhero Senki. There we go. Somewhat. But in the show proper, we don't. It's just them doing their thing. The most we get is when Zox is introduced and they ask him if he's based off the Gokaigers, and they show a picture of them unmorphed. That's pretty much it. But that's why I liked Zenkaiger, is it was a breath of fresh air and it was so zany. I never knew what was going to happen in any episode that aired. That's what was so insane about it. And its pace is just like boom, 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 boom. But anyway, like I said, I would say the first arc leading up to Zox's introduction, and just past him with, like, because it also introduces Stacy. So probably like the first 10, 12 episodes, I would say would be the first arc, if you will. Is really good, really strong. It really introduces our characters. We get to know everybody. Me personally, I really enjoyed Kaito, Juron, Zox, and Stacy the most. Gawan and Vru and Majin are fine. Gawan will probably be just below those ones I just said. But Vru and Majin, they have their episodes, but I don't really think they get, to me, a lot of time to breathe and be made into awesome characters. Maybe Majin more to a little bit than Vroon. But I just wish there was a few more episodes here and there focusing on that. And especially when certain plot lines come in that seem to be important, like finding his parents, or eventually once they find out who his dad is, finding his mom, start to become all of a sudden not important. It makes it odd, the choice to not then focus on some characters and do some more with them. But they're not a bad team per se. I do like them with what we get. It's just my personal favorites and who got really good characterization. So that first 10, 12 episodes are really, really great. The whole series is, clearly. But they do a really good job of honing in on the characters, putting them in these challenging situations. And I kind of agree with my friend Huckleys, who said they're the most inept Sentai team, and kinda, but also they're also the most creative. There was a lot of times where they would come up with a plan and I was like, oh, alright, that's just what we're gonna do. And just the humor and the gags in the show are just top notch. I'm a huge fan of comedy and gags and funny things and creative little things. And there were so many times during the show where they did that things with the logo, with how they would do their different roll calls. I always said throughout the whole show, if they were ever a part of Gokaiger, Gokaiger wanted to get their grand power, that Zenkaiger's grand power is roll calls because of the different roll calls they have. But yeah, it did so much in terms of all the different monster designs, the world monsters they had to defeat, and finding the perfect Sentai gear to counter them, and what that world monster was causing to happen in the world. One of my favorite episodes actually is the Retro World episode, where they have a split plot between the monster of the week, yes, who's Retro World, makes everything look old and everything, and then also they're trying to stop him. But you have this little boy who just recently moved, and he doesn't have any friends, and he's all alone. He doesn't really want to try and meet anybody or talk to anybody, and Yachan gets a time to shine in the sun, the grandma. Yatsude does, and she gets to walk him around town and kind of figure out what's going on and teach him how the past might bring up bad feelings, but it's not so bad, and blah blah blah. And it's this really beautiful thing where we get this character who doesn't have any powers, who can't transform, who can't change his Zenkai, and still like has like an emotional thoroughfare in the show, and still has a pretty decent like arc, if you will. I won't say that Yatsune really changed throughout, but she does help the team grow, and I think that's really good. I don't know if I'd consider her the mentor, but kinda, sort of fills that role. So I really like that, and also begins the arc of Stacy figuring out, like, seeing Yatsune and reminding him of his mother and bringing back those memories of his mother, and how much he at first is introduced, and we'll talk about Stacy in a minute. Just, oh, I'm Toji Tendo, I'm evil, blah, but then you find out under the surface, yeah, you might want to defeat Brashitara, your dad, but you really want to beat him because you want revenge on him for what he did to your mother. So I like that. There's a lot of layers to characters that you don't get right when you first meet them. You know it's there, but then right after, or just soon after, we get those layers peeled back and we get to see who they are as a person. Stacy has a really awesome arc too. I think Stacy gets a lot of good pull in the show. But let me first start with the main teams. I think Kaito is great. I think Kaito starts off strong and ends strong. I think there are many points throughout the show Kaito is challenged on who he is as a person and what his goals are. Just another thing too, I might have to split this video and make like a two-part thing, just because I might ramble for too long. But where he starts out in the beginning of the show, sort of aimless, but still like peppy and like happy and ready to go. He, as the show progresses, really falls really well into the role of leader, and also like bringing together these group of misfits to make sort of a happy family when you think about it. Yes, they're not technically related because they're robots and a pirate from another dimension and whatever, but by the end of it, you feel that they are truly a family that cares about each other and that truly wants to help each other, and I like that a lot. Juron, to an extent, feeds into that, being kind of the dad of the group, kind of picking people up when they're feeling bad, and, oh, try it again, kid, and blah, 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 and he's older than the other Kikanoids, technically, so he fits that role very well. And I really like his growth, too, where he starts out a little worried that people are going to be awful against him and the other Kikanoids because of the Toji Tendo, and seeing that people start to respect them and like them. They like the Zenkaigers. Oh my gosh, they're the superheroes. And him to kind of grow a little bit there too. We don't get a ton of Jiron episodes, but the ones we do get, they do a good job to focus in on what makes him cool. He's always, he's always quite sure of himself, but not too sure to where he's like a dick about it. But just like, he's very cool, very suave. He's got things together. He's very creative. Always usually the one that I feel like is the one to pick out that something's wrong when like a world monster is attacking and their powers are doing something. He sometimes, or a good chunk of the time, is the one that's like, hey, what's going on with this? Or maybe we should try this. And I like that about him. He's very creative. He's very hands-on. Him and Kaito are like mega bros. And I like that a lot. And they were introduced in the first episode together and transformed together too, I think was cool. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Mighty Morphin, but it's based off Zyuranger, not technically Mighty Morphin, so I don't care that his suit looks like that. I do like his suit. I like how he looks. And I like the Gaikai form, of course, with him and Gawan is really great. I wish we would have seen more of the super one with Zenkaiger, but I do like Jiron a lot. I think he's got really a lot of depth to him. You can tell he's been through some shit, but he's using that to help his team grow. Like, hey, I've have a little bit of experience here. Let me help you guys. Let me pick you guys up. Let me, protect you guys a little bit. And I like that about him. He has very much a dad sense to him. Gawan was one that was tough for me to like for a while. It takes a while for his arc of like, he is a Kikanoid, doesn't like Kikanoids, so he doesn't feel comfortable in his own skin. He thinks, oh, they're just robots. It's fine. They can protect themselves. And when he meets organic life, which is more, vulnerable, he's like, oh, I gotta protect it, cute little things, oh, I love them. And I like that shtick at first, but it's, to me, I think it took a little too long to get to the like pinnacle of his arc. There's an episode where there's these kids playing and a Kikanoid kid gets hurt, and it's at that point that he finally realizes, you know what, I can't be this way anymore. Like, sure, maybe I'm not fully comfortable with myself being Kikanoid because of how different I feel from my other kind and whatever. But, he has a bit of an arc there where he starts to turn things around. But it got kind of annoying, him being like a robo-racist almost against his own kind. And to the point where like he just wouldn't even work well with the team. Like it took Kaito to like dumb it down to him to like, okay, we're fighting Stacy. These Rangers he's putting out, they're not real. They're not real people. It's fine. You can kick their butt. It's fine. They're not real. They're not organic. And that eventually turned him around a little bit, and then the other character episode. I like that he's a chef. I like that he is always doting over Kaito. I think it's kind of a funny shtick. But he also does have a big heart. I will give him that. He's always super caring about everybody, and for the most part wants everybody to be okay. Vroon I really like a lot too for how curious he is and how much he always wants to learn about stuff. Like something will happen and he'll want to explain right away. He'll do an attack and be like, what was that attack called? Or he'll see somebody do something and want it explained right away. And I love that. It's really a fun gag when something huge happens and he's like, well, can you explain that though? How would you? It's Vroon, we don't have time, buddy. But I like him a lot. I think he's really a decent character. I don't think he went through nearly enough of an arc, in my opinion, as a character. I think the rest of the team have their own personal character arcs they go through decently, but there's not a ton for him other than just proving to Ichirud that he's not just a sweeper bot and he has a name. And that's pretty much it. I don't remember him doing a ton throughout the show that was like, holy shit, Vroon. Majin is also decent. I would say she's a bit better than Gawan, not by like a ton in my opinion. I know there are people like Thomas Jujubee and a lot of other people that love Majin. I think her design is great. I think her Zenkai form is great, totally cool. I love the design. Maji Ranger based and all that, and along with Vroom being Bowkenger based is really cool. And the color combo when they combine and stuff is awesome. But she's decent. She does better than Vroon. I do like her episodes. I like her original like introduction episode where, Gawan basically is like, this is a bunch of crap you're talking about, fortunes aren't real. I think that was a really good episode, both for him and her. I like her episode, the dual character episode between her and Vroon with the trash world monster, where she's kind of challenged to stop being so much of a sloppy person and to try and, figure out how to be a little more cleanly and stuff. I think that was really good. And I do like the use of her using magic in certain fights and to like solve certain problems. I think is really good too. So overall, the core team is really strong. I think that Kaito and Juron are the strongest, followed closely by Majin, then Vroon, then Gawan. Majin, then Gawan, then Vroon. I would say Vroon probably on the end just because he doesn't have a ton of an arc to really go through. He's just the know-it-all, tropey blue that just is really smart, and that's it. So the core team, really, really strong. Zox also is a really well-written character. At first, I wasn't sure how he was going to fit into things, and I like how when he's introduced all the way to the end of the show, he does not ever try to roll call with them. He does never say that he's a Zenkaiger. None of it. I love that shtick. We might get that changed in the movie, like I said, Zenkaiger versus Kiramager versus Senpaiger, but still, I think that was really funny. I love that he dances to transform. I think that it's funny that he is I want to say a K-pop star before he did this, and so he's incorporating his own singing and dancing into it. I think that was really cool. There's even some behind-the-scenes stuff I saw where he taught his own stunt double how to do the Super 2 Kaiser dance, personally, so that he would be able to do it in suit going into that form. Zox is really great. I like that he's introduced first as this pirate, and he's kind of brash, making these crazy decisions really fast, whatever. He really loves his family. He loves Flint. He loves his brothers. And then we finally get the revelation about them. They used to be human. Something happened. They got cursed. He's trying to find a way to that place to destroy the gear and bring his brothers back to normal, or in general, just find a way to bring them, make them human again. And I like that because, it adds a lot of brevity and a lot of depth to him. And that, yeah, sure, he is kind of being, a bit brash about things. And yeah, he may be putting people in danger here and there, but he's doing it not to actually truly hurt people. It's just kind of a side effect of him just being super blinders focused. I think it's good for him to be a part of the team because he is being taught by them to care more about people, that there are other things in people that are your, teammates or, friends or allies that can help you. And they're being taught by him kind of a different, unique way of fighting and a unique way of looking at things. And that, sometimes it's okay to go for some stuff that's personally just for you. I would say as much as Kaito is a very selfless person, Zox more errs on the end of being more selfish, being a pirate, but not entirely, because he's a good big brother. He loves his family, and he does, in general, care about the team, especially during the whole arc with Kaito's dad and Hakaiser and all of that. He really makes it a mission to truly want to bring to light the truth of what's happening with his dad and find a way to save him, knowing that he doesn't have his own father, his own parents, they're gone, and he's the only one his family has, so he wants to help Kaito with that, and I think that's really good. He gets some really decent character moments throughout the show. He gets some really fun fight sequences, especially when we get into the Zenkaiger gear thing, so he gets his Super 2 Kaiser form, along with, of course, Kaito getting, with Kaito getting the Super Zenkaiger form. I love the episode where they're both using it, and they're like, Kaito just all of a sudden wants to transform just like Zox, and he just can't really do it. It's really funny. There's a lot of funny things where they poke at that. There's even a part later on where it seems at first that he has to dance to transform every time, and then later on, he doesn't, and the monster's like, oh, he doesn't have to dance to transform. Oh no, we have less time. Oh, and he gets like all worried about it. It's really great. But he has a really good arc. I like his ending part where he finally defeats Estitopia and is able to, doesn't free his brothers entirely, but he's able to go to that world and figure it out, because later on he comes back and they're good, they're human, so I like that. I like his relationship with Stacy as well. We'll get to Stacy in a minute. So on to the Darkness Boy himself, Stacy. I am really impressed with him. I think it's interesting that the actor that plays him, Ryo Sakaguchi or something like that, if I'm getting his name right, he originally auditioned for Zenkaiger, and it didn't work out. They didn't want to play that. Not that they didn't want to, but he just didn't get the role, but he impressed them so much, they brought him back to be this new character they created called Stacy. And I think because it's kind of a similar situation to Hiromi and what's it called? Revice, Jesus. Where he wasn't intended to be as popular as he was, but because of the crazy outpouring of popularity with him, they decided to keep him on and continue to, push forward a character arc for him. And I think it's got a really strong character. I think that it's really interesting seeing this, like, Dark Ranger, if you will, start with the Toji Tendo, sorta, but it's really just a platform to try and look better and be better and outpace his own dad, Brashitara. And then his own dad is like this warlord asshole who's like all these different concubines. I don't know how that works. And his mother was one of them. And then not long after, he was, born, or when he was very young, he ended up destroying the mother, killing the mother. And so he's held that against Brashitara. And I do like they never repaired their relationship. There was nothing about Brashitara that felt like there was anything more to him than just being, I'm evil. So I like that. He stayed that way. And I like that him and Zox worked together near the end to defeat Brashitara. That was cool. And I like how the point that opens up his storyline to becoming more human, because he is like half human, half cyborg or whatever, is when he meets Yatsune. I think that's a really strong episode in the Retro World one, where he sees her for the first time, and then leading on from there, it is really cool what she brings to the table for him. Kind of a reminder of his humanity, a reminder of his mother and what he could be. And that, yes, you can have this power, but are you sure you want to use it to destroy? And there's actually a lot of times in the series where he ends up destroying the world monster himself. Quite a few times, actually. To the point where they start pointing fingers at him. So he gets a really good arc too, and I like where they go with that. Especially with like the one Resurrection one monster or whatever that brings back his mom for a bit and then ends up turning her a little evil, or she has a knife to him. And Kaito has to stop that from happening, and him and Kaiser actually. And I like that. I think that was a really good arc. I think that was really cool, and especially kind of turning what was a sense of comfort for him into a sense of danger, because he almost didn't want to do anything. He almost was about to let her kill him because he didn't want to destroy his mom. And so I think Kaito ends up holding her back long enough for the rest of the team to destroy the monster, and that ends up taking her away. And that hurts her, but he knows it was the right thing. And Kaito even says, like, I do care about you, Stacy. I know we're on separate sides, but I can see you're going through a lot, and I know that I want to help you. That leads later on to Stacy being the one who gives them the data to take down Hakaijuo and finally free Isao from being Hakaiser. Kaito's parents are decent. The dad gets all of the characterization. The mother gets barely anything at all. I don't even know if she really has that many lines, honestly. And I do like him being Hakaiser. I think it was a crazy reveal. I think a few people called it. I didn't necessarily think it was that, but I'm happy that it was, honestly. You could tell that with the way how he acted similar to Kaito, and overall his demeanor was very similar, so it made sense. The mom gets nothing. She's basically a throwaway character to the point where when it's up to them to find her, they like search for like an episode or two, and then they kind of give up on it for a while. And then once they get the dad out of being Zenkaiger, he goes to find her on his own and leaves behind the Don Momotaro little gear thing or whatever. And that's all we see before until the very end of the show. We don't even know how he found her, where he found her. I think it was like Mushroom Topia or something goofy. And it's like, I don't understand, because that was like a big plot point and thing for Kaito. There's a few episodes, especially the Sushi World one, where he lets himself get too carried away trying to get to the Tojino Palace to find out where his parents are, that he loses focus on the people needing help. And the world monster ends up screwing up a bunch of things because he doesn't focus on the threat instead of his own personal goals. And that was great, except I don't know what he gained really from finding his parents near the end once they finally come back into things. Villain-wise, kind of let down because Zenkaiger and Stacy are the best out of everybody on the villain side. Brashitara is Brashitara. I mean, he's basically the muscle type villain general. Ijirood is basically the evil scientist general that we see in a lot of Sentai. Not a ton done with him. I do like his schemes. I like him creating Stacy's powers, Stacy's Kai, the robots, for him. Zenkaiger, that was cool, and that he was the one that made Zenkaiger happen and everything. But we don't get a ton with what his overall goal was. He just seemed to stay loyal pretty much to Bokawas all the way through, and I don't really understand that. It was weird because he almost sort of reminded me of like Frax or whatever his variant is in Time Ranger, where he was like technically working with Rancic but wasn't behind the scenes doing his own thing. And we never got that with Ijirood. And I think that the reason why with that is because everything else was becoming so popular with Stacy and Zax and the team that they just the villains kind of fell to the wayside a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know. But yeah, so the villains are kind of weak in this season. Bokawas is okay as a joke. His whole like giant goofy wall thing where he's just like slamming his fist all the time and the little, basically dark Seichan thing was, kind of a fun shtick for a while, but he kind of just becomes a joke. Most of the tension becomes a joke until Stacy's a part of it and Zenkaiger for a while. It's kind of a letdown. I mean, I don't hate them, but I wish they were just a decently bigger threat than what they were. Compared to something like Kira Major, where like Emperor Yodan and Yodana, even Shadan to an extent being one episode, and Garza clearly are decent villains with a pretty decent amount of depth to them, Yodan being the lowest on that totem pole, of course, but a decent amount of depth to them, an actual threat. Whereas like Bokawas really only presents himself as a threat near the very end when it's all of a sudden revealed that like the royal family like takes parts from their previous family member to make themselves stronger, and that makes his form that he uses. He was a threat then. The whole like, he absorbed the Toja gears that had the Sentai worlds in it, so he was like using each person that was homaged on the team. So like Joran, he used a Z Ranger thing, Gao Ranger thing for Gawan, Maj Ranger thing for Majin, and then Vroom clearly a Bokenger themed thing. So I like that, and a Gao Ranger thing for Kaito. That was cool, but he's defeated eventually, and it takes a while. But they get a help from somebody. I'll get to them in a minute. But he's just not that big of a threat to me. Like, he's decently designed, and I like his whole streak of pounding the ground and making everybody jump in the air, and they keep that up all the way through, and that's funny. But I just don't care about him as a threat. I still felt like there were stakes in the show because of trying to find, the parents and stuff with Stacy, the inner team, the things in the team going on, different relationships and whatnot. Flint also kind of gets the short end of the stick, not being a villain, but just in general character-wise. She, I think, fares a little better than someone like Vroon because she also has to start to, like, let other people help and realize that her big brother is not the only person who can do everything. But I wish that she had a bit more for her. And honestly, I feel like at certain points they were kind of pushing like she was going to make her own debut as a ranger, and she didn't. So I'm hoping that'll happen in the crossover. It might not still, but I just think it was cool, especially the body swapping episode where her and her brother swapped, and she technically transformed into Zenkaiger without, it was not her voice, and it wasn't even her in her own body, but still. So that was like, I felt like too much of a tease in my opinion, and something they could have really done a lot with, a really underused opportunity, So that's where I sit character-wise. Story is decent. I don't hate it, but I don't love all of it. I think most of the story, maybe like 2/3, a little bit more than that, like 85-ish% of the story is a lot of fun and really good. The zaniness is there, the comedy is there, the writing's there, the dialogue, the character work, awesome. But they kind of lose themselves in what the story was from the very beginning to the end of the show. At the beginning, it's about take down the Tojo Empire, find his parents, blah, blah, blah. At the end of it, we're playing rock, paper, scissors with God, apparently. We're fighting God. I don't know. That was, I think, the biggest misstep for me for the show, was the whole introduction of the Kami-sama God character. I thought it was really goofy. It didn't really make a lot of sense. We don't get a lot to know about who he is, who they are, before they all of a sudden become the final threat at the end, and then are taught to be better somehow through the power of friendship, I guess. I don't know. I think it would have, to me, it kind of felt like the thing in Zenkaiger, where to me, Azald felt like a much better villain in what he did for within his arc and who he truly was than Genis did. And I feel like at one point, Genis and Azald were one character, and they just split them apart so they could have more villains. But that's just me. So I really wasn't the biggest fan of that, So, but I'm going to end this one right here. I'm going to record a part 2 to kind of summarize everything and get to the second, the last little bits here, summing up everything, talk about some aesthetics, homages, favorite moments, things like that. I don't mean to be a downer with this at all. I'm not trying to make you guys feel like I hate the show, because I clearly liked it and clearly loved it. It's in my top 5 Sentai. But yeah, so that's going to do it for today's video. This is part 1 of my Zenkaiger overall season review / thoughts and ramblings. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. Did you guys love the episodes? Were you kind of hit and miss certain things, the pacing, character-wise, villain-wise? What do you guys think? Favorite moments, stuff like that? Let me know in the comments below. Look out for a part 2, hopefully pretty soon. I'll give my final thoughts there, kind of get to an end point and give a final overall score for the season, which might surprise you guys. I'm not sure. Yeah, as always, stay hooked on engines. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.